thanks for applying.
Absolutely.
We appreciate this.
Thanks for letting me.
Important job. As a member of the Planning Commission, obviously, you're going to be poring over zoning codes, and you're going to have to try, and how would you balance the requirements of the code with a practical application for whatever is in front of you at the time? In other words, how do you make, you got to stay within the planning code, but how do you make those type of decisions?
I think that it's a group, right? It's a group effort.
Right.
Nothing is done, like I don't sit behind a computer and say, this is what I see, this is what it is, and it goes out the door. I think it's through careful consideration, not only by myself, but every other member of that committee, to kind of look at all those different aspects and then come with some consensus to what is that final project or final output. What is the thing that best meets those needs on both sides of that? Be it the policy procedure and kind of, like you said, the practical application of that. So.
Thank you.
Gwen, you had your hand up? You didn't?
No, I didn't.
Heidi?
Yeah, I can't help thinking about some of the past projects that we've had that the Planning Commission has been involved in, and they have kept, one of the roles is to make sure that projects are really really meet the needs of the community, but also don't step over the legal line and get us into court. So there's like a balancing act. The property owners, property rights are very strong in Ohio, and so there may be some projects that have the public kind of weighing in on and maybe not very keen on.
Sure.
But the planning rules, the Planning Commission's job is kind of limited in that sense. Do you think you could separate yourself and maybe vote in a way that might be not very popular with the?
Yeah, I mean, not to, I don't want to go back, but like I said, I've worked in the public sector for a longer time than I think when I write it down. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been that long. But it's been in social work, it's been in children's services, it's been in with opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, and a lot of that work is having those hard conversations, right? What is something that somebody wants versus what is maybe realistic? What is the realistic option? And I think having those open conversations, making sure that I can document that process, that we considered this, we considered this, we considered this, and so that there is a step-by-step sort of vision of how we got to this place. Yeah, I think you can make those hard decisions, and when you bring it to somebody who maybe isn't necessarily happy, at least I have something that says, yeah, I did consider the effect of the decision that I was making, and this is how we did that.
Thank you.
Further questions?
And thank you for applying.
Yeah, Maureen? Oh. All right, thank you, Ken.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We will vote on the 20th. We're looking for 2 vacancies, and you're the only one that's so far signed up.
I like my odds.
Well, if you don't make it, apply again.
Yeah.
But thanks.
Appreciate it.
Our boards and commissions are very important to us. It's just part of the structure of the city. So thanks for applying.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
We're going to go into zoning appeals.
Olivia Kennedy.
Name and address and a brief statement.
So I prepared like a short statement. It should only take about 2 minutes. So I'm Olivia Kennedy. I live at 16. Can you guys hear me okay? 1686 Athena Drive in Kent. So I'm just going to get started in my statement. So although I'm not native to Kent, I've been a resident for the last 7.5 years. I'm a parent, a volunteer, and a small business owner in this community. So 10 years ago, I received my undergraduate degree from Kent State, and I just fell in love with the city. My professional background is in social services and behavioral health, so I have over a decade of experience in the field. I've cultivated valuable skills such as advocacy, cultural competency, and collaboration. As a heart-centered and culturally competent professional, I hold respect for equity and community inclusion. My approach is trauma-informed and person-centered, ensuring the highest quality of care and compassion in all of my interactions with others. So since 2021, I've been with the Kent JCs and have even served on the board for a year. I joined the JCs to influence positive change in our community and to contribute to the betterment of society. So this organization provided me with opportunities for professional development, leadership, and community engagement. Through my involvement as a Kent JC, I've developed a heightened desire to contribute to the city's governance and to play a deeper role in supporting our community members and economic development. So my commitment to volunteering and actively participating in our community is rooted in my upbringing, which was fueled by scarcity of resources and lack of community involvement, as well as feelings of powerlessness that was characterized by my family's history. So I was raised by parents who have faced challenges such as mental illness, addiction, incarceration, and poverty. And I overcame these circumstances through education, becoming the first in my family to complete college. So, inspired by my personal journey, I'm passionate about encouraging others to embrace the opportunity to transcend the limitations imposed by their upbringing, foster active participation in our community, and to enhance social engagement. One of my goals is to continue to be an active supporter of our community, and my aspiration is to join a board that's committed to upholding regulations, fostering fairness, and championing for equity for all. I'm excited to wholeheartedly participate in the governance and operations of our city, aiming to make a positive impact in the enhancement of our vibrant local community. So my passion, my lived experiences, and skills would make me well suited for a role on the Board of Zoning Appeals, where effective communication while adhering to codes and policies are crucial.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions?
Thank
Roger?
you.
Well, Olivia, thank you for applying. It's heartwarming to see younger people standing up there. I really appreciate that. Out of curiosity, have you been to a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting?
I've not.
Okay.
No.
I think you might find it interesting, having served on that board back in the 70s. How do you balance the demands that people will come and stand before you and make when they're appealing a zoning requirement that they want you to make an accommodation for? How do you approach that? How would you approach that, especially if they're pretty adamant what they want?
Yeah, so once I would familiarize myself with codes and the zoning ordinances, I feel that by being familiar with those policies and codes and working collaboratively with a team or a board, I feel that I could effectively navigate through communicating those decisions.
Okay, thank you. Good answer.
Heidi?
Yeah, I've got two questions. First one is, are you a homeowner or property owner in Kent?
I'm a renter in Kent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question, and that relates to a lot of issues come before us from business owners, and I know you have a business, and also maybe homeowners that want to make a change to their property because our zoning code leaves us with these little, not our zoning code, but our city is really pretty dense, and sometimes our zoning code really conflicts with the things that people want to do with their properties, like setbacks and things like that.
Yeah.
The second question I have relates to, we've interviewed you before in the past, and you don't have to go into any personal detail. But
I've never been interviewed by this.
You've never been interviewed, but you
Yeah.
applied in the past.
Yes.
Yes,
and then
that's right. That's where I got it.
withdrew. Yes.
Yeah, and I just wonder if, whatever the issue was that kept you from going through the process before? Is
Yeah.
that resolved?
Yeah,
And-
good question. So I was serving on the board of the Kent JCs at that time. So I did not reapply to be on that board, although I'm still an active member, because, as I said, I want to get more involved in other areas of our city and other boards. I'd like to gain more experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Robert Zagenda. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Rob Shigenda. First of all, thanks for allowing me to come. I'm a homeowner, to answer your question ahead of time, 1078 De Leon Drive, right in the old family's area over there. I lament following Olivia because I do not have this wonderful speech set forth for all of you, and I kind of envy you because you went first. However, so I've served on the more in the private sector, right? Basically my entire career. So some of my background is in the building and construction industry. I've had facilities maintenance responsibility for the last 15-ish years for the companies that I've worked with. And so I bring a bit of a background of understanding from the flip side, right? From a, not necessarily a business owner, right, but one that was responsible for applying for zoning appeals and things of that nature. So I would say that that's kind of where my professional background lies within applying for this board. As for the reason, I'm a 20-year resident here in the city. A member of Northeastern Ohio for probably 35 years or so. Just want to find a way to give back and help the community. Dan Smith was a friend of mine. I'm sure that most of you know who Dan is. You've probably been on the board for a long time. So really admire kind of what he started here, however long ago that was, right? It was probably close to 15 or 20 years ago now. And to help see some of that progress through. Any questions?
Heidi?
Yeah. You answered my one question, and I really don't know much else about you, but here's a question I have for you. Would you consider the Planning Commission if that was, if you know, because, you know, we have more candidates than we can, you know, have slots to fill for the BZA, but we're lacking a Planning Commission
Yeah, sure.
candidate. So is that something that you...
Let me address one thing. I have 2 young girls, and my time suck is them, right? Really, really busy. The schedule of the boarding zone, or the zoning boards, sorry, for Monday, usually works well, which is why I chose that one. I didn't know that there was others open. I simply received the email, so I went ahead and did that. But you know, if everything works out, I'm more than happy to serve wherever.
So does your schedule preclude that?
I
Planning
just need an opportunity to take a look at when it meets. That's all.
Maybe Bridget can help
I
us.
can help you with that. BZA meets the 3rd Monday of every month. The Planning Commission meets the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of each month, so they are meetings twice a month. But I will tell you, development has slowed, so we're averaging about 1 a month, but we do have some projects coming up, so it could be twice a month. I need members on both, so if you're fine with BZA, that's great. I already talked to this gentleman here, and I said I need you on both. Yeah, but that I know with...
What time?
It's at 7. BZA's at 7, Planning Commission's at 7. Tuesday, at 7. So you
Okay. Yeah, I think the time of day would be fine. I work in Medina.
You don't
so-
have to commit.
No.
Now.
I'm
You're
just
not,
saying,
we're not putting you in the
twisting
hot
your
seat.
arm. There's
You're
no
allowed
arm
to think
twisting
about
here.
this.
as an opportunity, yes, I would be willing to consider it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for applying.
Yep.
Murph, what? Further?
No?
Okay, so
That's it.
we'll
Thank you.
consider
Thank
you
you.
for both positions, right?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That was funny.
Next up is Randall Smith.
I don't
I don't
see him
see
here.
him.
No? Earl Clausen.
Kind of surprised.
Name and address for the record and a brief reason why.
I'm Earl Clausen, 126 East Oak Street. Lived in Kent for 27 years and at my house on Oak Street for the last 23. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, but I just retired from Amatech here in Kent after 28 years. So, yeah, I am a licensed PE, a professional engineer in the state of Ohio, for what that's worth. I have a bit of a connection to Kent State. My wife's a 20-year employee there, so I have a bit of insight into that world. And, yeah, it came to my attention that there was a need for people to step up and volunteer for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and quite simply, that's why I'm here. You know, there's work that needs to be done, and I now have the time availability to do it. So that's me.
Question, Mr. Sido?
No, first of all, I want to say, so you retired from full-time employment, and now you want to jump in and serve your community. That's awesome. You know, a lot of us have followed that track, and I do appreciate you applying.
Thank you.
That's really good. So, from an engineering perspective, when people come and now I'm struggling because I'm thinking Board of Zoning Appeals and I'm thinking Planning Commission, all right? Because each one of them have different goals, okay? So from your perspective, what would be your greatest strength? Do you know what they both do, right? Kind of.
Yeah, my sense of it is, and I may be wrong, but my sense of it is the Board of Zoning Appeals is maybe more black and white than the Planning Commission, which maybe have some vision that the city is trying to achieve for the long term, versus specific issues to be addressed at specific properties.
Well, as an engineer, what strength would you bring, you know, where would be your strength area? I'm curious, from your perspective.
I think, you know, I tend to be an analytical person, and my professional background, you know, we have processes and procedures we need to follow. Blueprints, for example. You can't just make changes willy-nilly. So it seems to me that, you know, things, you know, if we have an appeal to a zoning code, then, you know, there's got to be a good reason, whatever that might be on the circumstances. But, yeah, I think maybe just an analytical approach would be my strength.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Heine?
Yeah, just the same question I asked. Would you be willing to consider Planning Commission?
Sure.
Because that also reads plans. That's actually maybe even more in-depth into reading plans and applying law and regulations, zoning code to those plans.
Yeah, sure. I'm here to serve and
I like
where
it.
I'm needed.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for stepping up.
Further questions? Okay, again, thank you. We're going to vote on the 20th. Our clerk will let you know the outcome of that.
Thank all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for board commission interviews. City Hall update, Ms. Baker.
Good evening. So the building continues to go up, although it does look like it's coming down on the one corner. What they're just doing is they're going back and reinforcing some of those metal studs because of the lightweight stone that we have to put coming around that corner. For whatever reason, it was missed when it was installed, so no additional cost to the city, just a little bit of a going back and repairing it to make sure that it's coming along. But first and foremost, the first floor drywall is 95% complete, including all of the soffits, the inside area, and council chambers. Masonry veneer, lightweight stone, and cultured stone will be completed on the Haymaker side by the end of this week. About 3/4 of the windows are in, so all of the metal framing is in. Unfortunately, the temperatures are what keep hindering us from getting all of that glass in. The sealant and the glazing is what needs a 50 degrees or higher rising temperature. So on the days we had 70, it was excellent. And you saw extra people here doing that. Unfortunately, to days like this with rain, we have to pull that back in and it stops. Our main transfer switch, yay, got delivered. If you didn't see me turning gray over the last 3 weeks, it was actually back ordered, and then we were told it wasn't ordered at all, and then they were able to find it, but we were like last on the inventory. So it's taken us an extra 4 weeks to get it, but it is here, it is installed. We're looking to have that inspected and approved tomorrow, and then we'll go ahead and hook up with First Energy, and then our hopes are by the end of next week or the beginning of the following week, we will be fully operational with power in that building. We do have gas right now, which is what is heating the building, and that is why they're able to finish all of that inside work. All of the door frames have been installed, so we're pretty excited there, and that includes all of the mechanical mechanisms, the strikes, and then of course those things that we're going to be utilizing new, card swipes. So it's pretty exciting to see all of that go in. Pipe installation is ongoing. And then our final things are concealed lintels, and some of our special architectural needs on the inside are just beginning. So that's pretty exciting to watch that go along as well. So we're continuing to move forward. I know you're all going to ask me, are we still looking at July? And right now, that's what the contractor tells me. So once we can get that building fully enclosed, they told me then I'm not allowed to go in because there'll be so many people, there won't be enough room for me to see what's going on. So we'll hopefully say that that's what's going to happen, but that's where we are right now.
Okay, are there any questions for Melanie?
Yeah, I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Roger.
I got a phone call. It was a strange call, and I think it was caused by a posting on one of the Facebook pages.
Oh, it's accurate then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I said to the person, I have no clue, but I would ask it when I had a chance. The brick on the South Water Street side around the big window for the thing seems to be a different brick.
No, the brick is not different.
Okay.
And neither is the
Mortar? Okay.
However, when the sun hits it differently, it's just because it was done at different times. They have assured me that once they clean that, it will kind of go in. You can clearly see that actually on the south side of the building when
Right.
you're coming down
Right.
South Water. You can clearly see kind of some of those differences. It is not the brick, though. It is the mortar that looks a little bit different. I did actually make them pull the bags when I noticed it out of the dumpster to make sure that it was the same, and it was the same. It's just the time that it went up and the mixture that it went up. So the temperatures were different and the weather was different, but they have assured me, because the building will be completely power washed
Right.
when we're finished with that. So it should all take on an even and nice look, but yes.
I
So-
suspected that as such, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to
Not the
just
brick, but
put
just the
something out there
mortar.
before.
Yep.
Very good.
Good question, though.
Further questions? Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Last item, and we all talked about previously, ward map challenge
Yes,
changes. I guess
Thank
you're
you.
going to take us,
yes, I
Okay.
am. Last month, when Bridget was here and we talked about the map that we were proposing, there was also the other issue of the, if we change the wards, would they affect this coming year's presidential election? Because you did not want to do that. You didn't want people not to go to the right precinct and locations and things like that. At the time that we did talk about this, Roger, I actually think it was you were getting ready to ask, to authorize it to go to council to be approved, and we kind of stopped you. And said, no, let's make sure we get the answer we need from the Board of Elections before we make that decision. Well, we have the decision, and even though the recommendation that we put in the manager's report asked you to just to receive the report, I would like to ask for a motion sending it to council meeting in April, because Bridget still needs a little bit of time to put the meets and bounds, the street descriptions together for us to get the ordinance ready. But the Board of Elections has told us that these will not affect The first election it will affect are the primary elections if they occur in 2025. So it will not affect this November's election at all.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Law Director? We're all satisfied? Wow. Okay,
Say that.
do you need a motion?
I would like a motion to bring it back to council to vote on in April.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jack. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Heidi.
So this is like to bring it to the council meeting as a legislation?
Yes.
Final legislation.
Okay. Well, again, I'm probably not going to vote for this because I still think that there's going to be a big disruption down the line. And already people are going to be confused as to what ward they're in and who represents them. So I think that we outlined another solution. I'm not sure exactly whether that solution would get us into trouble because that was a little dubious, but I'm just going to be sort of maybe the lone vote against because I do see that it creates a lot of disruption, a lot of differences. There's a lot of difference in the wards. So.
Further discussion? Robin?
Yeah, since I have expressed concerns, I have not seen the new map proposal yet. And so I'm, interested to see that before I am able to move forward, being that it won't be until April. I have an opportunity to evaluate it, looking at it. I may have the same concerns that I've expressed before, but I'll, take that up when I am able to look at what the proposal is.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call for the motion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
One no.
No. I told you that. Okay.
Well, they can bring it. I don't have to support it.
Okay, Hope, you have what you need?
Yes, thank you.
All right, that's it for Committee of Whole, Community Development, Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes. First up, we've got the Haymaker Farmers Market sub-lease renewal, and Bridget's going to be presenting that. Thanks.
Good evening. Each year, we bring the sublease for the Haymaker Farmers Market before council. For new members, why it seems like this would be a housekeeping matter that we would be able to do as an unauthorized item. That area is actually owned by Wheeling Lake Erie Railroad, and so they formally have to review it and approve us for it. I actually haven't gotten that approval, but I do every year. So this is to enter into the sublease for the farmers market to use that area from the first Saturday in April through the last in November.
Any
Questions? Heidi, do you have any? I'm sorry.
That's okay. It doesn't sound like we have any questions.
I'm
Do we have
thinking
any?
popcorn.
Oh, good. Any questions from the audience? No? All right, back to council.
Move to authorize. Oh,
Second,
Okay, we're going to need an emergency.
with
what's your
emergency.
emergency?
Any discussion? Heidi? You made the motion, right?
Roger made the
Any dis-
motion.
Oh,
But that was okay.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's great. I think that we continue to do something that is unique to our community, and the fact that the railroad is always gracious and it only costs $1, come on, it's a deal.
Eddie, do you have any discussion?
Nope, I do think it's great too, and I really appreciate this long-term relationship we've had with both the railroad and the farmers markets.
Mhm.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next up is also Bridget. There's no action required on this one. This is just a staff report.
That is correct.
CDBG staff recommendations.
Yes, so just a little explanatory note for those that are new to council. The city receives an annual allocation from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's known as the Community Development Block Grant. We call it CDBG. We are the only entitlement community in Portage County, but we are the second smallest in the state. So we average anywhere from 275 to 300,000. It is not enough, but we do leverage it and use it and maximize how many people we can benefit from it. There are requirements, so I am here presenting the proposed projects. We have not received word of our funding allocation, so this is anticipated and based on last year's allocation. We then need to have a 30-day review period for an action plan and then another public hearing before you'll vote on this in May. By then, we will know the actual allocation, so that finalized legislation will be for the exact amount. The city puts together a 5-year plan. It's known as the Consolidated Plan. It lays out the priorities for the city's CDBG funding. We have 3 priorities, which is all targeted 100% to assisting low to moderate income households. We do safe and decent housing, which we support through our housing programs as well as homeless services. We do limited clientele activities, which benefit and target specific households and services to income-based eligible applicants. And then we do infrastructure improvements in low-income areas. We've been partnering with the city engineer on these, and we usually have to cobble together a couple years' worth and then some additional funding, but we've done some extensive renovations, full-depth street reconstructions down in the south end. So I'm going to go through the applications we received this year. The City of Kent Engineering Department submitted for the Walnut Street Phase 2. This funding will be gathered with other funding to improve basically a section of Walnut Street between Franklin Avenue and South Water Street. Full-depth reconstruction will include stormwater, sidewalks, and street trees. We also provide funding to the City of Kent Police Department for a neighborhood policing program. It is targeted patrols basically in our high concentration, low income areas. And it's basically an opportunity for them to deal directly with tenants in these areas. The funding is slightly lower this year, and it's because you haven't spent last year's. So I had to be judicious with how I spent it, but I do have reserve if it turns out that we need it for this year. The Community Action Council of Portage County runs a furnace inspection and targeted furnace replacement program. This is for owner-occupied. You have to be at 80% and below the area median income. But if you have a hot water tank or you have a constituent who has a hot water tank or a furnace replacement issue, please refer them to our department, and we will connect them with CAC. The next one is, it is now called Access Point Community Health Centers, formerly known as Family and Community Services. Family and Community Services runs the only emergency shelter in the city, Miller House, and we provide them money for shelter nights. This is a fraction of what it costs. It's an average about $370,000 a year to run that shelter, but we do give them some that they apply towards those services. We're also providing funding to Access Point Community Health Centers, formerly FNCS, for a roof replacement at Locke Apartments. For those that you may remember, Locke Apartments is out on Lake Street. We actually did a stair replacement, and after Gary passed away, Mark Frazone changed the name of the apartment to Locke Apartments in Gary's name. It is a voucher-based assisted facility where 100% of the applicants are receiving assistance and also are either clients of Coleman or FNCS. The next project is the Habitat for Humanity. This is, we provided them funding for 2023. The program is a new program. We haven't actually seen it implemented yet, but they're going to be starting that currently this year. It basically is going to provide home repairs, not to the level of what a housing rehabilitation project would, but bathroom renovations and referrals for minor roof repairs for low to moderate income seniors. We will do single family, but it seems that most of the applicants that they were provided to us so far have been seniors. We put a very little bit towards administration costs. This basically covers our advertising that we need to do for the public hearings and the publications. And then $19,000 of our funding goes to Fair Housing Contact Services. Anyone that receives HUD assistance has to provide fair housing services, and we've been under contract with Fair Housing Contact Services to do that. They provide tenant landlord mediation as well as educational outreach. And if you ever have a client or a constituent, I should say, that has an issue with a landlord, please refer them to our office. You can refer them straight to FNCS, but I do want to note that if they are a college student, they already get free services through Student Legal Aid, so it's advisable to funnel them through myself, and then we will get them where they need to be to get that type of assistance.
Yes, Mike.
Now, the first thing you said for Walnut Street, is it Elm Street or Walnut Street?
No, I believe it was Walnut. Elm. Is it
Okay.
Elm? Oh, then it's a typo
Well-
from staff. It's a typo from
Okay.
staff. I
Well, I was just,
apologize.
because I'm looking through this
That's,
number,
I
and I don't see
apologize.
Walnut
Oh, no,
Street.
I read it wrong. I'm looking
Okay.
at the other one. No, you're right.
Okay,
It's
okay.
Elm Street. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. You are correct.
Okay, thanks. I just,
Yes.
something on my,
I was reading from the reference from 2023.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Thank you for correcting it.
oh,
Any other questions? Yes, Heidi.
And that would be West Elm Street?
It is, I'll read it right out of here so I don't make a mistake. Full depth reconstruction of Elm Street from Dodge Street to South Water.
West Elm.
Correct?
Thank you.
More questions? Any more? Yes, Chris?
Can you share a little bit more about the neighborhood policing program? I heard targeted patrols. I just want to make sure that we're...
I'm actually going to have Nick step up because he can
Oh, sure.
describe that for it and where they actually provide the services.
Sorry, can you repeat your question? So generally speaking, what it is, as Bridget mentioned with the CDBG program, it has to be in low to moderate income neighborhoods. I don't really like the word targeted policing. I think that's what you said. Generally speaking, what we do with the program is it's an opportunity. We use it for bike patrol. And we use it for a lot of foot patrols. The purpose of it is to put an officer out there to interact with the community. It's not an enforcement-based program at all for us. It's to get people on foot, having conversations. You know, a lot of times you might see on, you know, one of our social media pages or something where there's an officer out playing basketball with kids in a neighborhood or something, and most of that is done on through this program.
So the money allocated here is basically just paying for the staff time for the police to interact in a more congenial, flexible,
Correct.
fun way. Okay.
Correct. And essentially what it comes down to is when we have, you know, officers out working patrol on a shift, they're responsible to handle calls. So they don't have that time as much as they can. That, you know, we do have officers who will dedicate time to it, but this is 100% dedicated time that they're not expected to respond to calls. They're not working patrol. They're solely focused on going out and interacting with the community.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No? All set? Thank you, Nick. Any questions from the audience? Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, so there's no action needed on this one at the time. Okay, next up, also Bridget, Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Program Interest Rate Amendment.
Yes. So the city of Kent back in the late 1980s received a starter grant from the Economic Development Administration, the EDA. It is a federal funding source. Over the decades, it has been used as a RLF, a revolving loan fund. Monies are loaned out for businesses as gap financing. It does not exceed 30% of a project, and they have to have their other funding lined up. The city has been administering this program successfully since that time, and actually just about 3 years ago, the EDA released us from their watch. So that means I don't have to do a report every 6 months, which I'm eternally grateful for, but we have not changed how we administer the program. We still will take on some risk, not more than a bank, but we still will not put the whole loan portfolio at risk. Just to give you an idea, right now we have, I believe, just 4 active loans, because you just had 1 paid off, correct? Yes. We have 4 active loans. We have basically in our portfolio a little over $925,000, and it's kept locally at Hometown Bank. They service our loan payments each month. We have always operated since that time with a 3/4% of prime as our interest rate. Term is set by a separate committee, a revolving loan fund committee. And that rate of 75% of prime had been fine. We had not had any issues until recently when the interest rates have risen. And it has not really incentivized or been a program that really helped offset some businesses that were looking to improve how they were structuring a pro forma for projects. So I asked Eric to check around, and there are many communities that use a fixed rate. So we met in January with our revolving loan fund committee and suggested that we move to a fixed rate. With a fixed rate, as any of you that have a mortgage know, it's easier to manage your debt service if you know exactly what your principal and interest will be. The committee agreed unanimously, and we are requesting that council authorize we set at a fixed rate of 3%. That still will incentivize the program now, and at some point, if rates drop, we may come back with a change, but we do believe that this is the right move to serve those in our community that are looking for this type of assistance.
Excellent. Any questions from council? No questions? All right. So we're going to need, Bridget's requesting a motion on this with emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Jen?
Nothing done.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as he makes his way up, I mean, I don't know if we've ever done an official welcome aboard, Eric. You know, some of you may have bumped into him before because he's been in Bridget's shop. He kind of, well, let's say he took any job he could get to get in, and he got in. And we were delighted because he's well-credentialed with his master's and everything, and good communicator. And as Roger likes to point out about some of our people, he's a young man, and we're excited to have some youthful energy. He's still trying to keep up with Bridget. Not sure that's possible, but
because Bridget's so young.
That's right. You know, he moved from code compliance, where, you know, it's not as much fun, as economic development's a whole lot more fun. He's fully capable of it, and he proved it to us. We gave him a little short stint as interim once Tom retired on us. And yeah, we've been thrilled to have him, and I'm delighted he gets to meet you, although he's clearly having technical difficulties. But yeah.
Where's Nick at when you need him?
You did a trial?
I think it goes off after a second.
I think it does. Yeah, I think you're fine. And Eric left you copies at your table and chair, because I know a lot of this stuff, people like to take it with them. And I don't know about you, but I get more questions about, like, what's happening in this business or what's happening in that vacancy. So this is, I know this is always like a favorite time for council, because you get briefed on this stuff, and then you can walk around the community for at least a month or two and know a lot. But then in 2 months things change, so forget it. But anyways, he's available anytime. You certainly, please don't hesitate to call him. You have questions. If you have recommendations, if you have leads you want to give him, that's all kind of in his area. So I'm glad we can now put a face to the name. And with that, Eric, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dave. First, did everybody receive a copy of the slides? Okay, very good. Well, thank you for allowing me the time tonight to come and present. This is just going to be an overview of the economic status of the city from 2023. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to overview the completion and updates of last year's projects, some new dining and shopping options, new service providers, projects on the horizon, some other business news, and economic measures. So to start, we have the Clavin expansion. That was a 6,000 square foot addition, and then they did interior and exterior renovations as well, and that upgraded their showroom as well as some of the office space in there. This was a neat one. This is the Burning River Rail Yard. This was installed at 341 West Oak Street. It's visible from Mogador Road, and it's a rail spur that the Garmier family of Hartville, owners of Renewable Lubricants, put in. They have a business where they use a manufacturing process to turn used food-grade oil into a sustainable lubricant that's environmentally friendly. So what they did was they cut costs by bringing that in by rail. They can get 3 to 4 truckloads on one rail car, so it really saves cost. And this is open to other businesses to use for a fee. As of now, I don't think they're servicing any other businesses, though. And that rail site has the ability to hold 25 to 30 cars. They can store it for an extended period of time and help with loading and offloading. We have Bliss, Ohio, the medical marijuana dispensary next to the courthouse. This is the urgent care that relocated to the Starbucks Plaza. Now this is operated, it's branded as UH, but it's operated by Well Street. And Well Street is a private operator of urgent cares. They currently operate 126 urgent cares across 4 states. Just wrapping up this week, because the chief building official issued the certificate of occupancy, this is Marathon Financial Services relocation. They are wrapping up on 234 South Water Street, the old yellow house, although it's no longer yellow, and they're going to be leaving their offices in Acorn Alley. We have Tiger Ray Boutique. This opened in Acorn Alley as well. Clothing, bath and body products, accessories. Colored Threads, this is in University Plaza. It's back in the courtyard. They do upcycled clothing, so they'll go and buy some items from thrift shops and then maybe put some screen printing on them or embroidery and breathe new life into them. We have Sun and Leo. This is a sustainably sourced clothing and upcycled clothing store as well. Tom's Direct Cargo. This is owned by Tom Negron and Lily Young. They do new clothing, accessories, home goods. They're located on West Main Street, out by the Claiborne Auto Mile. We have Daisy Cake Pops. They opened mid-2023 in the redone Sanford building. Marco's Pizza. They're in the multi-tenant building out on East Main by the Faux King. Rocco's Cupcakes, South Water Street in Collegetown, Kent. This is the Moonbase Bar. This is the old Dome, if you can't tell. This is operated by David Hawes, and it's a space-themed bar for drinks, dancing, and a good time. So if you want to go moonwalk, that's your place. Adam Sheer Madness. This is located next to Tom's Direct Cargo out in Main Street. And with Adam Sheer Madness opening up, that brought that plaza to 100% occupancy. There's 4 tenants in there. Milan Laser Hair Removal, also part of Collegetown, Kent, on South Water Street. We have the Performance Collective. This is operated by Stephanie Orwick. She does targeted therapy, mental training, performance coaching, and she's on the 2nd floor of McKay Bricker's building next to W.W. Reed. CPR to Go. This is one of 2 that opened in the Franklin Kent JED, not 2 of these centers, but 2 businesses. This is operated by Ruby Lejour. She does CPR and basic life support classes on site, but she'll also travel and do those for fire departments or other organizations that need that. They're located behind Brightview Addiction Services in a freestanding building right next door to the old Damons. And we have Universe Luxury Waxing Center over in Meadowview Square across from Walmart, also a JED participant. I'm going to talk about a couple closures. So Flasher's Fabric Care and Laundry, they were located in Acorn Alley, and they closed due to health issues. Campus Market closed because they're doing a different concept in that building. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes. ResTech, they were a plastics manufacturer on Mogador Road. We had Flash's Fried Chicken in University Plaza, formerly Pit Stop Pub, also closed. Boost Mobile, which was located in Marks Plaza. Richard's Flower Shop, which was a result of a retirement. Copy Print. And the last 2, AHA Wireless and Sandy's Grooming. Now, they were both closures as a result of a fire in the building. Now, since then, I'm sure a lot of you have been by that we have 2 new businesses in there. It's not these 2 businesses, but we'll talk more about those here in a few minutes as well. So, for businesses that are coming into the city and still working on, their build-outs and whatnot, we have Federales. They're going to be located in Acorn Alley. Tacos, adult beverages, things of that nature. The 2nd floor of Bar Lucci, that's the Finley Brothers. They're going to have a kitchen, bar, and they're going to have space for live music as well. Board and Bevy at the corner of DePeister and Summit. This is going to be board games, food, and beverages as well. The renovation of 101 Bottles. They're getting away from the retail beer side of things, although they're still going to do keg orders, and they're expanding their bar concept. We have State Champs, and this is just what I was talking about with that building at the corner of Franklin and Summit, where they had the fire, they're going into the space that was renovated and previously occupied by Sandy's Grooming. Next door to that is Salon Next, which is already open. That was the former AHA Wireless. Another one is the Kenco space. So the Kenco space is changing hands within the family. And the new owners also are in the restaurant business. They operate a restaurant called The Hideout. They have 2 locations, Akron and Hartville, and it's going to be similar fare, Asian cuisine, sushi, and things of that sort. Going back to Campus Market, they're pivoting. They're switching from a C-store to restaurant, and they've submitted plans for a concept called Flash Crepes. Evelyn Dickerson Hair Design is relocating from South Water Street. They're going to be moving into Acorn Alley on East Erie. This is the former Little City Grill. The new owners are doing renovations. It's going to be the Blind Squirrel Pub. And we have 252 North Water Street. This is the Italian restaurant concept led by Emily Hansford and Andrea Chisnell. And then the vacant lot, as you all know, is going to be used for that outdoor entertainment space. In other business news, this is one that everybody might not be familiar with. So last year, the state of Ohio added the 44240 zip code to what's called their distressed zip code list. But what that did was open the door to businesses in the 44240 zip code, which is parts of Brimfield, even Franklin Township, to the inclusion grant. It's beneficial to a lot of our manufacturers, and they can get a grant up to, as you see, 50% of eligible cost of a project, or $25,000 of whichever is less. So let's say, for instance, you have a $60,000 piece of equipment you want to buy, and you get approved for the inclusion grant. You buy your machinery, you submit your receipt, and the state reimburses you $25,000. It's just that simple. Now, there are a few criteria that you have to meet. They want an increase of payroll or full-time employment of 10% over the next 3 years. The good news for employers is they're already looking to do that. We did have 2 successful inclusion grants last year, Ronell Mold and Machine and Sports Guard. Some economic measures here. We have the total income tax revenue, and you can see that's steadily increasing. KSU income tax year by year, you'll also see an increase there. But our dependence on them is going down. Unemployment rate month to month obviously didn't take into account the seasonal workers. You can see the first quarter of the year. And you should see that we're recovering, and really probably the lowest we've ever been since the pandemic. This is a big one that nearly every employer, regardless of sector, is facing its labor force. And if you look at the numbers here, we lost quite a few after the pandemic, but they're slowly starting to come back. The conclusions are largely related to labor force. It's trending up, but it still hasn't returned to the pre-pandemic levels. It still continues to be the biggest challenge faced by employers in the city. The consumer shopping habits are trending towards e-commerce. You pair that with inflation, it's really had an impact on traditional brick-and-mortar retail. The lower unemployment and the low labor force continues to put upward pressure on wages. You saw that as the income was going up. And the income tax trend, is illustrated of the higher wages employers must pay to attract and retain talent. Thank you, everybody.
Nicely done.
Good,
Thank you.
nice, thank you.
Nice job, Eric.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who's running this one? You?
I just was curious about the Claiborne one, the
Yes.
project that you mentioned first. Do you know how much the dollar value of their expansion was approximately?
I'm sure we have it, and I can get that for you and let you know.
Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my
So
head.
that, did they increase jobs?
It's possible.
I think that
They weren't a CRA2 project, so we didn't have any kind of requirement for doing so.
It would be interesting to find that out, too. Oh.
There you go.
There we go.
She knows everything.
I'm going to step aside.
So they basically, their brand, Jeep, required them to make the renovations to reflect a marketing that was required for that model. But Claiborne will be coming forth with additional expansion and activity at some of the other dealerships along that corridor.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Yes, Roger.
Out of curiosity, Claiborne bought the Longitanos property, is that
Yes.
correct? And do they have any plans for that at this point?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, here comes Bridget.
Here we go.
I mean, believe it or not, that is
I
the
know.
second most, the question I get
An
from
email
people.
would have been nice,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
You know?
So they actually do have a plan. I cannot speak publicly as to what it is, but I can tell you that it is a permitted use and that it would actually be an improvement on the corridor and free up additional space along West Main that would then be used by Claiborne for an expansion of one of the other dealerships. It's good. They came in and they talked to us maybe January.
Okay.
But it's the one thing that the developers will do until they want it to be
Right,
public.
right.
We keep in confidence.
Yeah,
But there
I
is
know.
plans,
I do the
and
same thing.
It is something that would be, we anticipate you will see within the year.
Okay.
It will not be a restaurant, I can tell you that.
Aw.
Any more questions, Roger?
No.
No? Okay. Yes.
Bridget, maybe you can answer this, because I had already asked. The old Main Street Tavern, is that being taken down? I've noticed that it's being...
Yes, but
Okay.
it was unfortunately started to be demolished without a permit. So that was stopped on
Okay.
Monday. And there are two Claibons, and one proceeds to have communication with me, another one doesn't. That was done by the one that didn't. So we stopped that. They are only tearing down that one, the outer building that's
Right.
basically on that east side. So they took the roof off, and they were supposed to come in for a permit. I was going to circle back to building this today and ask if they did, and I didn't get back there, but they need to get a permit. They didn't have a permit to start
So
that.
the other portion of the building's going to remain?
Yes. So what we're not exactly sure what they were doing with that, because according to Rich Claiborne, that was not in the plans for some of the activities that he has spoken to me about with regards to the other redevelopment. So I want to make sure the permit's issued to Al Claiborne, and then once that is, I was going to follow up with his brother and see if they know what's going on.
Thank you.
Any more? Yes, Robin.
Yeah, Eric, this one's for you.
Okay.
The Evelyn Dickinson's, that place has been where it's been for...
The building
Right.
changed hands, and the new owner has another plan for it, so that's why she moved.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because of parking and all
Yeah,
that
they had
stuff
ample
with-
parking, but it was just a result of the new plans with the new owner.
It's been like,
Gosh, I went to it in 1976.
well, I think you might know, when did that open up? That's been like 60 years.
It was built
That's been here
as
since I was a kid.
Been here since we moved here.
Anyhow, yeah.
Yeah.
Family.
It's, like Eric said, new owner, new thoughts.
And I'll clarify, the building on Water Street has a new owner, not the Evelyn Dickerson Salon. That's still owned by Carly.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's probably 4 or 5 other projects that, as I say, in the interest of like business confidentiality, is not far enough cooked yet to really be released publicly, but it does seem to be a testimonial that the trending of upward is hopefully going to continue. I know Bridget's been giving me some encouraging news about some properties. That's not to say some aren't going away, too. I mean, it is a dynamic market and give you a lot of gray hairs. And when you are a town that prides itself on small businesses, it's hard to ride those highs and lows. It's very stressful to see your favorite shops go away. And as Eric pointed out, they don't just go away for purely business reasons either. I mean, when it's a small shop, so-and-so gets divorced or so-and-so this happens. And so that's been a challenge. I mean, I still think we place a high value on small business ownership, but just, we got to ride those highs and lows. And what is it, 7 years is like the average, or maybe even shorter. But as Eric pointed out, the e-commerce stuff is really kind of shaking things up, and the globe hasn't settled yet. We don't really know like how it's going to play out. We're betting on experience-based consumerism, and in other words, we think what'll keep people coming to our downtown is making sure it's an experience, and the people, and I mean, we have these wonderful, funky, eclectic people in Kent, so we kind of want to have areas to parade them around, so to speak, and to let everybody mingle and experience a little bit of what it's like to be in a college town. That's kind of our greatest asset, really. And so we continue to work with Jim and engineering projects, and Dominique with all her sort of community engagement stuff, and of course Eric and Bridget with the infrastructure and the development side of things. But just know that that's kind of where we are leaning and kind of leaning into, and continuing to amplify those things about Kent which really are unique. And anyways, it takes a lot of resourcefulness and creativity, both on the public side, because we don't run the business, right? We create the environment as much as we can to be make things sustainable and exciting and fun. But it is a challenge.
We've had, just in the last 2 months, I've had developers that were with us over a year ago come back finally, because the environment just wasn't conducive to commercial expansion and development. But there's been a stabilization and in the interest rates and in the supply market, so now they're adjusting those pro formas. One project that will be going to Planning Commission, which I can tell you about, is an assisted living facility that will be going in out where the South Water Street Church is. It's conditionally permitted use, so it has to go through Planning Commission. But that project came back in 2 different iterations based on financial drivers, but at least the developers are coming back. I have one project that I'm extremely excited about, but I cannot share. Nothing that I told Dave, it takes a lot to like impress me anymore, and this one did. So I'm really hopeful that that one circles back and comes back, because I would actually have them come to council too, not just Planning Commission. So good stuff. Let's keep fingers crossed that it keeps moving that way. So.
Very cool.
Yes, Chris.
Thank you so much. Is this list the sort of the new businesses and the coming soons? Is this exhaustive of businesses that have opened in general, or that are coming, or is it businesses that have done a great deal of sort of work?
Kind of like a recap of 2023. We still have some that are coming.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, Salon Next is open. They're not in this list.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yes, this great business opened. It's a plus-sized thrift store.
Exelti.
In
the former Sensations. Yeah.
Like 3 blocks from my house.
Yeah, and
I
don't want to take up too much time, but she worked with our local representative from the Akron SBDC, and she was connected to me, and she said, hey, I'm on LoopNet, I don't see anything. Well, the state provides us with a website called Zoom Prospector, which is very similar to LoopNet, where I can post properties, so I get with the landlords and say, hey, send me pictures, give me square footage, this, that, and the other, and that's how we were able to connect Exelti with that business owner, because he didn't have it listed on LoopNet. So
Wow, that's cool.
it's really just making those relationships and having that open communication.
Any more questions, Chris?
Thank you.
Robin, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just kind of want, actually, Chris found that evidence. I didn't want to say anything because I couldn't believe it had been that long. But I can remember when the Evelyn Dickinson was like this really new building that it still looks even modern today, actually. But I was 4 years old we had just moved to Kent. We would go past that to the laundromat. And that Evelyn Dickinson has been there for, as Chris said, 70 years, that they've decided for whatever reason to move. Just seeing, I mean, I'm thinking because that area was undeveloped except for it being there. There were hills and trees and all that stuff that were up there. And Kent has come such a long way. It's incredible. and especially for those of us who have been here for a bit. I was trying to think, you were like 4 years old when they, when you went past that thing? And all that's all developed, people come back here, they get lost. McDonald, all that stuff, none of that was there, just hills.
Wow.
And it's incredible, so.
Very nice.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to wax.
Very- Any more questions from council? Oh, yes, Jack.
Yeah, I understand there's a new restaurant called Fifth Flavor.
So that's a food truck. Are you
Okay.
familiar with Temple Street, off
Yes,
Lake?
yes, off of Crane.
Yeah. They're back in there, and to my understanding, they're using somebody else's food truck. So it's
Okay.
almost like they're subletting the food
Okay, because I've heard great things about it, so,
Cool.
yeah.
Another business that worked with that, the SBDC, and
Any more questions? We all good? All right, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, he's a wealth of information, so please reach out to him anytime.
Health and Public Safety, Mr. Hammerine.
Yes, I think Joan's here to give us the Health Department's annual update.
Yeah, so this is just informational, so thank you very much for the time. I just wanted to share that one of our priorities from our strategic plan is to grow our services and our programs, and in reviewing our 2023 accomplishments, I was very happy to see that we achieved several firsts in terms of growth. So our first ever health fair in the historic South End, the temporary campground for the Great American Bicycle Adventure with over 1,100 participants. That was in conjunction with several other city partners, but that was a lot of work to work with the state on producing a campground where it had not existed before. We have 2 employees that are certified in car seat installation, and they have really made a positive impact on some residents within the city and actually surrounding cities too. We participated in first ever for our department with the state-supported Drug Overdose Awareness Day in August. We have 4 trained staff members that are able to provide education as well as Narcan kits to community members, and we've been going out and doing that education and providing Narcan. We also last year gave away, I think it was 64 bicycle helmets to children of various income levels, and so that was great in terms of safety. And then also continuing with our community discussions, we had a very important program on sextortion, suicide, and gun safety, which was not an easy program to put out, but I think very important and very informative, and very glad to partner with city partners like Chief Scheer, as well as county partners in Lee and Builds. So we continue to provide all our other duties as well as our inspections at pre-pandemic levels, and we look forward to continuing to build a stronger department throughout the 2024 year. And I just want to make sure that you all know that if you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions for the health department, we're more than happy to be here for you and your constituents and help you out. So thank you. I don't know if there's any questions.
Yes.
I just had a couple of quick questions. On the rabies exposure events, is that known actual exposure or potential
No, that's testing.
that
It's
was
potential.
tested?
It's potential. We have had no positive rabies in the city, so that's a great clarification.
that's
But
great.
we have had a lot of, I guess, service opportunities where people were concerned because of a potential exposure.
Okay, so like a non-bite would be like the bat was
Bats
flying
in the
around.
house, yes,
Okay. So I've
exactly.
been watching a lot of X-Files. In the
That's a great source of information.
And this is where I get all of my news. In the other category, got cat, dog, raccoon, other, and bat. Is that like hamsters and people?
Skunks.
And
Skunks.
Yeah. All right. No.
Groundhogs.
Okay, so nothing
You
supernatural.
watch Chicago Fire too? Give Jamie some hits.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience?
No, but I think it... yeah.
Go ahead, Roger.
No, I just want to say, Joan, you do an outstanding job, and your people, I mean, I talk to other people in other communities, and they know that Kent has an outstanding health department, and I think the leadership that you've shown has been just absolutely wonderful, so.
Thank you very much.
Jerry?
I appreciate that. I'll share that with
I
staff.
just want to tell you, you gave this report. It was my understanding, I wasn't there, but Sunday you were present, the fire department was present, the police department was present at the Lions Club pancake breakfast, and I want to tell you, I heard so much about the city being present there. So your 3 departments, well, actually 4, because Angela probably moved the chief along. But it was great. So I'm proud of our departments.
Yeah, and it's nice, that's great community outreach, that people know about us, so it's just as beneficial for us as it is for the organizations that we, share those tables with.
Abigail, I'm sorry, it wasn't Angela. So, no, wonderful.
I have to say that, I stepped down from serving on the health board after 15 years to somebody far more qualified than I was. But I have to tell you, amazing things have happened with this lady. So I think we're very
Jack, I do
fortunate.
have one more quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't see it in here, the Safe Schools presentation, I know Jim was there as well. Is that, it's not in here, is there some way that it could be?
That was through his programs, but
Okay.
we participated and we gave, some
Okay,
input,
yeah, I
but-
saw you both there, so
Yeah.
I figured it was a, joint. Is there any way that could be shared with council, some of those maps? It's all on the website. It's on the website, okay, excellent. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
That was awesome, thank you, Jim.
All right, moving on to streets and sidewalks. Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First up, of course, is Big Jim on the East Main Street Construction and Maintenance Agreement.
I am one belt loop the wrong way.
I knew you'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is the final partnership agreement for the East Main Street project that started with a planning agreement back in 2018 and then went to a design agreement with PARTA and KSU in 2020. This agreement contains terms for the right-of-way, construction, and then maintenance after the project's finished phase. It's modeled similar to Summit Street. One or two highlights from it is the EV stations that were received from the RAISE grant that are going to be part of the Climate Action Plan, and on KSU's property it talks about those and having KSU be a subrecipient so they can maintain those stations and then be open to the general public. Also talks about...
Jim, do you want to remind them how many stations? I recently had this conversation with Julie, and I was like, wow, there's a lot.
Yeah, it's 32 dual-port stations located, I can't remember the exact number of different locations, probably like 6 along the East Main Street corridor, some all the way to Horning Road, starting at the corner at Willow would be the most of them. And that location where it's really where the city and the user university come together, so it'll be easily seen.
And I think each station, it's 32, but they each have like multiple plugs on them.
Yeah, two.
So it's like 64 cars can be charged by these. Nice. Big step forward.
Yes, indeed.
Is that in addition to the stations they already have?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
The agreement also talks about robust communication plan during construction to help those trying to traverse the area, businesses in the area, as well as residents and students. And of course, discussions of costs. It's $4.9 million to leverage the $21 million in grants we received. That cost is split by the city and the university, with the city's portion already being included in the capital plan or current appropriations. So we're requesting your approval to execute the agreement with KSU and PARTA.
Do I hear any questions from council? Yes, Heidi.
Sort of a question. I want to say that I have a new job working in capital funding with engineering firm, and I'm familiarizing myself with funding sources and stuff, and I saw our RAISE grant, and it just made me so proud. What year was that actually
That we
funded?
received it?
Yeah.
We got it the last round, so that would have been, it's been less than 9 months that we got notice of it. We're still working on the agreement with US DOT on it right now.
It's very exciting, and it was only one of only 3 in Ohio. Yeah, there's
I
Kent.
had the pleasure, I told this, but I got to retell it because it was such a great moment. When I got the call as the city manager, but had to tell Jim immediately, so I got in my car, drove to his office, found him, and talking to Melanie, I think. And I kind of interrupted, and they kind of gave me this look like, what are you doing, just breaking in our meeting like this? And I'm like, I got to tell Jim. And I said it, and he kind of paused for a minute, put his head down between his knees, and he jumped up and gave me a hug. So,
That's exactly right.
That's what I felt like too when I saw that, and it was just, it's a moment of pride for sure.
Yes.
It's a very transformational project.
Remember, it follows on the part of building grant that Tim Ryan was so instrumental in helping us, and we were #1 on that. We were like the first one in Ohio, I mean, $20 million.
21.
Yeah.
21. So yes, Jim and a lot of folks, but certainly Jim's leadership in that has been fantastic. He's, I don't know if he's just so cheap, he's gotten really good at getting money, but that, we'll take it. We'll take it.
I think it partly has to do with the quality of the project and the partnerships.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're very good at that. We're not, it's not just we, but, we work really well with our partners and we see the bigger picture. We don't just say, oh, this is a street that needs resurfaced. We see, this street has all sorts of potential. That's not a question, but
No,
I
it's
did want to
wonderful.
know
Yeah, I mean,
when we got it.
I think I said something like any questions or comments. I think I
Okay.
said that, didn't I?
Jack.
Yeah,
Exciting.
I was fortunate enough to go to Washington D.C. when he presented this grant proposal. I have to tell you, you would be awfully proud. He's top notch, and we are very fortunate to have you here.
Thank you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
See, I told you, big guy. Other questions? Any other questions? How about the audience? Anyone? Back to council?
Move to approve
With-
with emergency.
Second.
Comment?
Well done. I don't, what more can I say about you, Joe? I'm so proud.
Let me go sit down.
How about the seconder? Any comment?
I already said my
There you
comments.
go,
I'm
yeah.
just
Anyone else?
really proud of, and that's full funding, right? We have full
We're fully
funding for that.
federally funded,
Fully
yes.
funded.
We can get
That's-
any more federal money.
When are we starting the project?
We're starting it in the summer of 2024.
Thank you.
Well, seeing no other questions, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you all very much.
There you go. There you go. Uh-oh, the Eclipse event street closure update. It's been interesting, all the Eclipse stuff on TV, it's just everywhere.
Glasses.
All right, Chief,
I
you're
just
up.
made the comment to Jim, I sort of wish that he was after me, because that's really tough to follow.
Yeah, how many dollars did you, no.
All I'm asking is for more streets to be closed. So my request is not for more streets to be closed, but if you remember from when we initially came for the street closure for all the Eclipse-related events, we have a street closure downtown that's essentially the Heritage Fest footprint on both Sunday evening and Monday morning. The closure is scheduled currently to run until 10 p.m. Sunday evening. The road's scheduled to open for 5 hours from 10 p.m. on Sunday until 3 a.m. on Monday. So that 5-hour window has some I have some concern about that 5-hour window, in that we're going to open our roads, we're going to invite people to come downtown and park, potentially partake in consuming alcohol, when we don't want them to drive their vehicles, and then at 3 in the morning, abruptly, the road closes. And at that moment, when the road closes, we have to now tow all the cars that are parked downtown. So I have two kind of concerns about it. I think it's a bad optics, really. I think that we're almost inviting people into a situation that's a no-win situation for them in terms of towing the cars. And beyond that, I'm worried about the resources that it may take to facilitate all the towing of those vehicles as well. So my request is just that we keep the road closed during that 5 hours. Don't open the road at all.
Any questions from council? I don't see any questions. How about from the audience? Anyone? Yeah. You're good?
Ride his bike then.
Just hearing that makes absolute sense.
Hey, there, we got a
Here we go.
comment.
Now I feel like Jim Bowling.
Yes.
I love the transparency. Yes.
Roger, I will say that if you decide to approve this, what he's requested, we can do it one of two ways. You've already approved through ordinance the road closure with that gap in it. If you would like a new ordinance to come back next, or in 2 weeks to amend that is fine. If you would just prefer to have, like Dave put it on his communication and you just vote on it by voice, that's fine. It's up to you.
That'd be good, I think.
Well, hearing that, do I see a motion, Mike, to do that?
Well, we can just put it on Dave's thing, I think. That would be a
Okay.
good motion to do that.
Okay.
I'll second that.
There you go. Do we need to vote on that? Hope, we don't need to vote on that, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, we
Well,
do?
yeah, you do.
Oh, okay, we still have to
think
do it
so.
as an action item, okay. So all those in favor of moving it over to Dave's desk, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side.
Did you have more, Chief?
No, you-
I was just, Melanie and I were talking, and Melanie just thought it'd be more for your information as council. The service department will work with the businesses downtown during the closure to facilitate any deliveries that they would have. So if you get questions from businesses or residents, we will still be able to help facilitate with the deliveries.
Very good. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Was there a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Did you vote?
We voted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard it was unanimous.
Yeah, I
All right,
voted.
that's it for committee discussion. We have an executive session to go into, Jack.
Yes, I'd like to move an executive session to discuss board and commission appointments.
Is there a second? Second by Melissa. Please call the roll.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Ms. Selko?
Yes.
Mr. Clapper?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Hook?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
She's walking away.
Yeah.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yeah.
We need to clear the room out, please.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
You have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Timing you right
That's
now.
okay.
Great presentation.
Take as
Thank
long
you.
as you want.
You know, we do get a million questions all the time about that, you know, that stuff.
Oh, thanks.
I try to be very
No,
cautious
no.
because of that confidentiality issue.
Rookie.